Right, hello again. Firstly, thank you all for the support from my last video. It was much appreciated. And I thought I'd do another one on what we've been getting up to recently. So it's been a Teams of Four Winter League at Tunnel Barn, which has been all three of the last weekends, every Saturday. So I thought we'd do a catch up on how we've got on. So let's get to the first round, which we were on extension pool. So first round of the Winter League, we were drawn. It was our turn on extension pool. I think we were on peg 2. I did manage to get some footage from the day, but I was going to try and film the whole thing, and it started raining, like, a couple of times during the match. Not heavy, but I was worried about the camera, so I kept putting it away and getting it back out, and I thought, this is distracting me from the match. So what I did is, I've got a bit of film up until the last hour and a half, I think, but I started catching well in the last hour and a half, so I'll show you the bit of the film now. So, as you would have seen from the footage, we kind of struggled all day in the match, and we did get some bites, but it was mainly little fish. And then I left you with like an hour and a half to go, I think, and we actually started catching some fish on the short lines. So we had two short lines at like 6 meters left and right, and then I did eventually plumb up a top kit line because a few people were catching their edge. So I thought I didn't really like the way my edges plumbed up, so I wanted something in a bit shallow water. So it was like 3 foot on a top kit, and we did get a little run there, but the two 6 meter lines were a lot better. Just fishing with maggots. So the rig we actually used for the 6 meter lines, which is the lines we call best on, as I just said, it was just over 4.5 foot deep. I think it was nearly 5 foot, which was a bit deeper than I would have liked. But we didn't catch anything shallow. They all stayed on the bottom. So we just had don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but it's like a 4x12 float with a 1.2mm hollow bristle. And then the shotting pattern on the day was just spread out number 10s and 11s through the rig every couple of inches, and then 4-inch hook length, no 5-inch hook length with 010 and 18's F1 pellet. So results wise on the first round, we ended up with just over £45 I think it was, which was pretty poor on the day. We only beat one in the 11 peg section, but all we needed was another £6 and we would have beat 3 people, and that was definitely doable. 3 more people, that was definitely doable. Just being a bit more patient early on and not starting on pellets, because we can catch anything on pellets. We only had 2 fish on it all day, which was a cross, but I think we just need to fish maggots everywhere and be nice and patient. And then we caught well like last hour and a half, but I also think I needed an edge line to my right platform in like 2 foot, which I wasn't expecting any fish to be caught in the shallow water. But Baz Bird on 36, he caught well fishing ground bait, just sloppy balls of ground bait with double maggot on hook to his left platform in the shallow water. So I think we missed a trick on how to catch some better fish that day, but I'm not sure it would have been great on my peg anyway. But yeah, definitely a chance for some more points, and a bit of a frustrating one to be honest. But Baz Bird won the lake with £86 I think it was, and Jack Danby won the match from house with over £100. So it fished quite well to be fair on average. But yeah, frustrating day, and I was hoping to do better the week after, so let's see how we got on then. Right, so round 2, and after round 1 I was pretty frustrated with how I did, as I knew I could get some more points. So I decided I wasn't going to film any of the Winter League rounds, just because the weights were so close as well. I thought I can't really afford to be messing around, and if something went wrong I wouldn't want to risk that and like blame that for getting a couple less points than I could have. So decided not to film it, and I was on extension again. I was on peg 19 this time, which is a good summer peg, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be like because the weather was still warm, so I quite fancied it to be fair. But we had Sam Collett on 7, Matty Hamilton was on 25, and I thought like the good pegs, the really out and out flyers would be quite hard to beat. But yeah, let's see how we got on. So after the week before, with all the fish being caught on maggots, I decided to start short, just having like 6 or 7 maggots in. And to be fair, we had a really good start. I think we started with a little stocky carp, and our third fish on it was like a proper F1, which was a great sign. And the signs that we were missing last week, because we only caught one of those fish all day. Like, I knew that area that I was in this week would hold some more of those fish, so that was promising already. I think we had 4 fish in the first 8 minutes, which was a great start. But then all I could do was tap maggots in everywhere, and all I'd catch was little perch, like on any lines in any depths, which is frustrating. I tried putting little balls of sloppy ground bait in, and I just got no response. I'd either foul hook an F1 or eventually catch a perch. It just felt like it put fish off, to be honest. So that was sort of a no-goer. But we had sort of a slow first 3 hours. I tried fishing pellets long to my left because there's no one to my left, but not a lot. Not a lot sort of lives down that little channel because it's a bit shallower and it's a bit rooty, and it's just not a great area in the winter. Hence why it doesn't go in. But yeah, and then after 2 hours, no, after 3 hours with 2 hours to go, we started getting some bites on the short line. So talking through the rig that we use on the short line, it was, we had a short line in front of us in 4 foot. I put one into the left in 3.5 foot, which never was any good. I just don't think there were many fish that way on the day. I did put one to the right in, I think it was just over 5 foot. It was nearly 5.5 foot, which I feel like was a bit deep on the day, and we had the wind coming across that way. So whenever I tried to loose feed it was not very tidy, and I don't think that helped. So talking through the short rig, we used the same float as last week, 4x12s and a 1.2mm hollow bristle with just one back shot again, number 9, because it's only a light float. I don't like using heavy back shots. And then this time the shotting pattern was a bulk number 10s, 2 number 10 droppers above a 4-inch hook this time because it was a bit shallower, and a 16 F1 pellet because I just thought there'd be some bigger F1s about, and I don't know, I felt like I could get away with a big hook this time. So yeah, that's the rig we fished. But we also did catch some shallow on the short line that day because it come up on me, and I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, because we were only fishing a short kit short for a 5 and holding the joint of your number 6, and we caught some, like, we caught an odd and really shallow, but the best sort of depth was 16 inch to 2 and a bit foot. But for that rig we used a little 4B8, like a Winter Maggie style float, but it's not Winter Maggie, a little 4B8 float, and it's just got 3 number 12s, no, 3 number 12s down the line. I did have a number 13 on there just to dot it down a bit, but because it was a bit windy and there was ripple on the water, I thought take it off and make sure I'm striking up proper bites. And that was just with a 4-inch hook length O10 to an 18 F1 pellet, and we were just side hooking a maggot on that. But yeah, that we probably caught 12 to 15 fish on that on the day. Not all proper ones, but a couple of them were. We did have 2 number 8 back shots. And quite a long lash with just pink hydro, something nice and soft so they can leave the peg nice. But yeah, that was good for a few fish, and we did manage 3 on that in the last 7 minutes, which did make a difference on the day. But yeah, that and the short rig, I think we ended up with 46 fish, which went £68, and that was enough for 4th in this section, which I was pretty happy with. Then Matty had £70 and Bazbird had £75 on peg 5, and then Craig Partridge won the lake from peg 28, and he caught on a top kit all day, pretty much all day. He had a couple of fish early across, but he said he's just fished a top kit to his right, I think, with ground bait and maggots, and that's how he's caught, and he's ended up with £96, which I don't think we could have caught from our peg, but we definitely could have come second again. But either way, a much better result for the team. The team struggled on the day. I think I forgot to mention how we did last week. So we all struggled last week as well, except Tom. I think he come 4th on his lake, so he got 8 points. But yeah, this week we all struggled, but I managed to get us 8 points, and I think that left 9th on the day, maybe 8th. So we were all hoping to do a bit better in the 3rd round, which let's see how we did that week. So on to the 3rd round, which was actually yesterday. A lot of rain had gone in all week, and top pool was actually flooded on arrival, and it was my turn on top pool due to the random draw. And so instead of top pool being in, they put canal in. When I found out I was on canal, I was a bit hesitant. Like, I didn't know how it was going to fish, as I hadn't been on it for a while. But I just wanted to be on the wider side or an M peg, really, as I felt like some of the narrow pegs can be quite tough on there, especially when it's a bit shallow. But the water was actually up like 1.5 foot, 2 foot, and it did grow 4 inches during the day. So we actually drew peg 5 on canal, which is right in the middle of the lake. it's in the deepest part of the lake as well, I'm going to say. It's like, it was 6 foot deep on the day, but we didn't fish right down the middle because I didn't feel like anything would want to be on the bottom. But we had Jack Danby on 3, who'd won the match the first 2 weeks, with over £100 both matches, so I thought he'd be tough to beat. Then I'm going to say peg 23 and peg 9 were top 2 on the lake on the Sunday. So I wasn't really sure what weight we were fishing for. I thought like if I could catch £70, we wouldn't be far away. So yeah, let's see how we did on the day. Yeah, so as I said, peg 5 on Canal. We didn't film it again because I really want to concentrate on the Winter League, and as the weights are so tight, I just don't feel like I can afford to, even if it's just one fish, it could make all the difference, as it did on the day actually. So I think we started short on pellets at like sort of 5 metres in just out of the main depth, and everyone around me was already starting really short. Like Jack up to my left, he was starting on like a short kit in short 4. I think with pellets again, and we've all had like bites pretty much from the start, and everyone on the whole lake's catching fish, so you could tell it was going to fish quite well. I think I've had 13 fish on pellets in the first hour, but I have come closer to myself as everyone around me is just getting bites mega short. I've plumbed up a line to my right, in like 3.5 foot. It didn't plumb up anywhere nice to my right. It was all on a slope, but I found a spot on like a short kit and a short 4, just nice and close, and I've caught a couple there on pellets. And then like the lake sort of switched off for half an hour, so I shipped across, and I changed that line to maggots. So I shipped across on pellets, and I had like, it took me a while to get my first bite, but when I did, it was like a little gang of stockies coming. I caught a few of them pretty quick. And then when I went back on that line, I got some steady bites on maggots. Not like, I never bagged on it, but I just caught steady fish, and they were decent ones, to be fair, closer to me. They were all like 12 to 14 ounce, whereas some of the ones I was catching across were a bit smaller than that. So I felt like that was the right depth to be fishing in. So what I did then is plumb up the same depth and found a spot to my left at the same no, it was actually shorter distance because I couldn't find anywhere. It was all too deep, to be fair, plumbing up, and that was the shallowest depth I actually had to my left. So I plumbed up there, and it was just like 3/4 of a short kit, and that's where I've actually caught best throughout the day. So talking through the rig on that one, this isn't actually the rig that we finished this, as it did get trashed, but it was just a little same float as we've been using, 4x10s though, because it was 3.5 foot deep, like I said. And on that we just started with strung out 11s, but we did change that to a Balkan 1. Yeah, Balkan 1 dropper, as the fishing was quite good, and I felt like everything was watching it, but they were all near the bottom. I wasn't getting any bites through the water, but probably because I was fishing so close to myself. But yeah, I've caught really well on that sort of second and third hour. I think I got up to 52 fish with an hour and a half to go, which, talking to Jack, I think I was 8 fish ahead of him at that point, and the whole lake was fishing well, but I felt like I was in front, especially on fish numbers. I don't know about stamp, but yeah, on fish numbers I felt like I was in front. I think I said I got to 52 fish. I think I meant 62. Yeah, 62 fish till the last hour and a half. And Jack's been fishing shallow across, and then he's come down the middle on his shallow line, and he's caught really well there last hour and a half, and he's ended up with 75 fish. Well, I've struggled. I probably need another line to drop on, because I've trashed the rig for that side at this point, and I've replumbed my cross rig for it, but it was never as good until sort of the last 15 minutes. I felt like some of those proper F1s come in the peg, but I felt like my cross rig was on a bit lighter gear, and I felt like it was just taking too long and messing around with them to get the fish in. But we did catch a few, and just I felt like we fell behind a bit, and I definitely could have caught better last hour and a half. So results wise, we've ended up second on the lake. We've weighed £100 5 ounces. We've managed to beat Neil on peg 9 by 5 ounces, so got a bit lucky there. We've ended up with 78 fish. Jack to my left, he's had 75 fish, and he's ended up weighing 123 pounds. So he's definitely caught a lot more of the better stamp fish, which I do feel like they live on that peg, but I feel like I definitely could have caught more of them. Not necessarily more stockies, but I could have definitely caught more proper fish. probably pushed his way. Not if I fished a perfect match, but I'm not sure I could have caught a lot more than he did. And I know he said he could have caught a few more. So yeah, that was the results. We managed second on the lake, which I was really happy with. The whole complex fished really well. Jack actually managed to win the match again for all 3 rounds, so fair play to him. He's clearly got it sussed. I think House there were two £120 weights, so yeah, fished mega. Yeah, the lake actually rose 4 inches during the day because my platform was underwater anyway, and I had stuff behind me, and it was like floating away by the end of the match, and everything was wet, so it's all actually being dried out now. But yeah, quite a nice day's fishing. Really enjoyed the Winter League so far. Our team on the day actually managed. Where did we come? We came fifth. I think we had 27 points. It was actually our best performing round by a mile. Harry did quite well on new. I think Tom beat a couple, and James. I think Tom and James were about halfway on extension and house. So, but with the lakes fishing quite well, I feel like the flyers are always going to be tough to beat. So yeah, that was the first 3 rounds of the Winter League complete. I definitely feel like I could have caught a few more each of the rounds. Probably got another 3 points the first round, 2 points the second round. Maybe I could have pushed Jack the last round, but he was always going to be tough to beat on that peg, and he's actually won all 3 of the rounds so far. So fair play to him. But yeah, I'm looking. The next 2 rounds are in December, the first 2 weeks of December. So I'm not sure where we're going to go next 2 weeks. I might even have a weekend off, I'm not sure yet, but just thought I'd update you of how we've been getting on and how I've been fishing basically. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and hopefully you'll join me on the next one.